Baltimore area with DARPA to practice mind controlling the public. Yes, we're not in Kansas anymore. And that dovetails with our first big piece of news today that I'm going to cover in more detail coming up in this hour. Vladimir Putin has come out and warned that we must be extremely moral and that we must be informed and involved, or AI will take over and basically enslave us. And that if bad people get control of AI first, it will be used to, again, enslave humanity. That's my big fear, is that the globalists are going to use it for control. They've used everything else for that. But Putin now warns of a future sci-fi superhuman soldiers more destructive than nuclear bombs who feel no fear or pain. The globalists want machines because they'll follow illegal orders. But the real goal is to turn us into the machines. Less human than human, but more human than human. So let's go ahead. I will read the closed captions and play what the president of Russia had to say. Here it is. This means that a man has the opportunity to get into the genetic code created by either nature or, as a religious people would say, by the God. What kind of practical consequences may entail? This means that one can already imagine. One may imagine that a man can create a man with some given characteristics, not only theoretically, but also practically. He can be a genius mathematician, a brilliant musician or soldier, a man who can fight without fear, compassion, regret, or pain. As you understand, humanity can either, and most likely it will, in the near future, a very difficult and very responsible period of existence. And what I have just described might be worse than a nuclear bomb. When we do something, whatever we do, I want to reiterate again, we must never forget about the ethical foundations of our work. And that's it. The Atlantean moment is here. Will we destroy ourselves as mythical Atlantis did? Whether it exists or not, we are now Atlantis. Are we Atlantis 2 or Atlantis 1? We don't know, but we are Atlantis. Maybe we're Atlantis 5. Oh, yeah, we all at gut level and historically know this has all happened before.
It's Paul Joseph Watson, and the T-shirt has finally arrived. Nothing triggers safe space snowflakes more than this slogan and my face. It is the new T-shirt from infowarsstore.com. Conservatism is the new counterculture. You've seen how much this triggers the safe space snowflakes. The left controls culture. They control arts. They control entertainment. They have the complete monopoly on culture, which is why conservatism is the new counterculture. We are striking back in the culture war. This triggers snowflakes like nothing you've ever seen in your life. You've seen how much they absolutely hate the image of my face and that particular slogan, conservatism is the new counterculture. This T-shirt is not only a conversation starter, it will trigger the holy hell out of leftists. It will make me incredibly happy.
Wow, what a moving evening this is. I am sitting here listening, watching, absorbing, thinking about Ali, even though I never met him. And with this kind of inspiration, I will go and take Trump out tonight.
So that doesn't mean political. Obviously, it means I'll go take him out tonight. She'll go kill him. She's really tough. That's enough of the witch. So there you go. Now, you've got that arrogant megalomania delusion, which she doesn't even live in her district, that has several $3 million, $4 million houses, but then bitches all day about rich people in America not paying their fair share. We've got Pelosi struggles to form sentences during TV interview, calls Robert Mueller mother. Now, this by itself is like, okay, having a bad day. We all fumble over words sometimes. But every time I see her speak, I go, hey, let's watch this press conference live. And she's just a bumbling buffoon. We've got to take just her bumbling the last few months. Maybe McBreen or one of the other great editors can do it. And just boil it down to her bumbling. And call it the mental disintegration of Nancy Pelosi mirrors the disintegration of the Democratic Party. And all over the world, globalist, blue blood, liberal and conservative parties are being thrown out. And populists that are common sense are being brought in. Czech Republic, Austria, all in the last week. Italy just had a referendum. Boom, to start pulling out of the EU. They already had a referendum earlier this year to stop expansion. Look at Brexit. It just goes on and on. It's a beautiful thing we're seeing to see humanity awaken and to see the globalist media tanking, nosediving. Here is Pelosi's latest bumbling buffoonery.
If Robert Mueller comes back with a report saying that there is evidence of collusion between Donald Trump's campaign and Russia, do you believe he should be impeached?
Well, first of all, where does Mueller take that?
Sure.
But his burden of proof is different than what it would be in the Congress of the United States, and people should know that. It could go to a criminal investigation of some of the people he's investigating. What we're doing is saying what the measure of behavior, the Constitution of the United States, highest crimes and misdemeanors. But in any case, we've got to fight this. This tax bill is Armageddon. This is it.
Armageddon. Okay. Oh my gosh, because the economy will come back for sure. A 7% growth rate that we haven't seen since like 1963. You can't have that. I mean, the recovery is already as good as Reagan's recovery. It took him 3 years to get, and then you're finished, aren't you? If America comes back and works and is successful, boy, that's really going to screw things up for you. Now, coming up, of course, he was blowing up my phone last night going, I've got sources. Mueller's about to start investigating Podesta. I've got to get this article published, because we have to obviously review all the articles that go up. Of course, he's a great guy, but he's in D.C., and we kind of have a bottleneck here of getting stuff on the site. So we're trying to hire more people, more editors, more researchers, more people to go everything. But we did publish it this morning, and then now it's in NBC Today, just like we broke the JFK news last Friday about the documents coming out this Friday. Here it is, NBC News. Mueller now investigating Democrat lobbyist Tony Podesta. So we've been harping on this for almost 2 years, over a year and a half, and now the chickens are coming home to roost in a big way. That's NBC News. So that's coming up in the next segment. Senate probe asks whether Robert Mueller alerted Obama administration to Russia bribe scheme. And then, of course, Obama killed it. So did Mueller. Robert Mueller invested in hedge funds linked to Russia and George Soros. I mean, he was delivering uranium in bags on tarmacs. Of course he's calling myself and everybody else Russian spies, because he's literally a Russian FSB bagman. He's Putin's bitch. Let me get into the Democrat Party news. The Democratic Party is done. Unless we let them mind control us by just nagging and stirring up trouble and lying, to where we just get tired of their squawking like a demonic parrot and just give up and go away. That's one way we can lose. Go back to sleep. Number two, if we let the Republican establishment manipulate us and make us think we've totally won and that they somehow are on our side and don't continue to move towards removing that twin cancer, that Siamese cancer, we can also lose. And there's different variant political future combinations of that possible future timeline. Big wars could also spring up that could derail an attempt to launch a new technological revolution, a cultural revolution of human empowerment that'll make the Western expansion of the United States and the wild, wild West furor that we've already seen look like a cakewalk, both for its opportunities and its dangers. But if we can get the globalist parasites off our backs who want to direct implosion, to control implosion, and sit atop that implosion to kill competition, if we can remove those little greedy creatures off our backs, we've got a real shot at the future. Because they're so reckless, they're just pell-mell, maximum testing, fission, fusion, strangelets, black holes, super cyclotron, collider systems, genetic engineering completely off the chain, thousands of labs, gene gun, random splicing, open-air testing, pharmacological crops, chimera humanoids. Just the sky's the limit of what we know. They say they want a global government so we don't destroy ourselves. And then they're the ones handing out nuclear weapon technology like they're lollipops when you visit the dentist. They're crazy. What they are is possessed by a spirit, an archetype, some type of interdimensional vampire. I don't know. But they want to blow the planet up. They really, really, really want to kill everybody. I don't know if it's some space transmission or what it is, because we know there's a sixth sense and a whole dimension to that. Is this some kind of like jamming operation to make us kill each other? Kind of like the Kingsman, the first episode of that? I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing. But I know it's going on. I know they're out to get us. They don't act like they're human. The globalists act like they're not of this world, just like the Bible says, and are here to kill, steal, and destroy. Fallen angel. Bad guys. Fallen angels. Two and two together, folks. They think we're all stupid here. And you can see what we're already creating aliens on Earth with all these human animal and animal and insect animal and animal plant hybrids. But let me just stop right there. All the presidents huddling together on TV, all the old presidents, and coming out against Trump, it's a sign of total desperation. And I know you know that. But the least of our problems is getting these globalists off our backs. If we just start realizing that our potential's limitless if we take action and promote justice and truth, and that getting them off our backs seems like a big feat, but we're very close to doing it, the big feat is going to be not blowing the planet up. Because even if we try to not kill ourselves, we are getting godlike power right now. Little g. The power we have 50 years ago is greater than the mythical Zeus had 2,500 years ago in the minds of the Grecians and the Cretans and all the rest of them. So these little stumbling blocks and getting past Hollywood and kind of the mesmerized mind control state we were in, that's the child's play. And now we're just getting a breath because the next obstacles are here. So here it is, total vindication. Just like we told you at this very time last week, that the president was looking, barring new information, to release the JFK files. He tweeted the next morning those exact words, because those were directly from him. Media that Friday said, look at Jones and Stone, fake news. Trump's not going to release it. Our CIA sources say. Well, you have your CIA sources, we have the president. So, and they just can't stand it. They just can't stand it, you see. And right here, like we told you weeks ago, this was coming. Then yesterday, we broke it. Mueller now investigating Democrat lobbyist Tony Podesta for the Uranium One deal. And I know you've heard Uranium One probably 5,000 times since January of 2016 here. Again, why do you think they came out and said myself, Roger Stone, Trump, his sons are all Russian agents? Because Trump had Trump Jr., Donald Jr. absolutely digging into all this. And so what do you do when you're a Russian minion? Not a Russian spy. They just got paid off by him. That's just money. What are you going to do when that happens? You're going to point the fingers at the people that catch you. One of the oldest tricks in the book is, you catch somebody robbing your neighbor's house and another neighbor shows up and doesn't know either one of you, and the guy carrying out the computer says, he's actually the thief. Hold your gun on him. Good. Let's wait until the cops get here. Good job. And then as soon as that guy with the gun, starts walking off, he runs. That's exactly what we've got here. So Mueller now investigating Democrat lobbyist Tony Podesta. Get more into this in the next hour. Senate probe asks whether Robert Mueller alerted Obama administration to Russia bribery scheme. Well, yeah, they killed the investigation. That's all confirmed. But see, now it's mainstream news. Robert Mueller investigated and invested, he's being investigated for investing in hedge funds linked to Russia and George Soros. We told you years ago that happened. Mueller investigating InfoWars expose of Dems on Russia payroll. Dr. Jerome Corsi. So that is now all, again, coming directly from InfoWars. And Dr. Corsi, who first broke that they'd looted $300 million from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. He did that before the president was even in office. He did that when he was president-elect from his White House sources. We say the White House went with our report. We got that from the White House saying, look at these federal documents, do a report on it to give the president support when he does this. And now, 10 months later, he's doing it. But again, the president does get the credit for that. I just want everybody to know what's going on here because there's no hiding this anymore. It's why they're so horrified of the daily InfoWars stacks. He calls them the stacks and the clips. And InfoWars is in there every day from other people. They're trying to stop that. But Trump's like anybody. When you try to keep him away from something, what happens? Yeah, you tell your kids, whatever you do, don't go in this trunk in the bedroom. And then in the trunk is a stack of Playboys. I once saw a bumper sticker, if you want your children to listen to you, whisper and act like you don't want them to hear you. NBC, ABC maintain Clinton uranium blackout. CBS finds it 5 days late. That's all coming up and more second hour. And again, I'm not bragging about InfoWars. I'm bragging about you, the audience, supporting us, and the fact they tried to brand us as fake news because they know as fake news, they can't exist while real news is there.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see, Maxine Waters thinks she's above the law. The Maxine Waters crime family, they think that they can do anything they want and they can get away with it. This is the problem that we have with career politicians that are in office, especially over 27 years. Maxine Waters is out of touch while she lives high in a $4.3 million mansion, and the rest of the district can't even afford carne asada. They're struggling. They're suffering. They're in the streets. People are just tired of having these politicians and just talk and take no action. I'm going out. I'm taking action. We just launched our campaign headquarters in the city of Torrance. We're taking it straight to her on a grassroots level, and we're mounting a strong national campaign against her.
That's amazing. Again, so far we have your Twitter statement, but just in your own words, go ahead and call for what you're calling for.
Yeah, I'm outraged that Maxine Waters would do this, would actually go on TV and actually call out for an assassination attempt on the president of the United States. I think the Secret Service needs to arrest Maxine Waters. She thinks she's above the law. She's not above the law. She is subject to the law just like everybody else. But like I said earlier, the Maxine Waters crime family think they're above the law.
And you're calling for her to be investigated or arrested?
I'm calling for her to be arrested.
Well, she should. I mean, if you or I talk like this, we'd bare minimum get a Secret Service visit.
Yeah, it's like this. If you go out there and you make an attempt to assassinate the president of the United States, you should be arrested for your words. I mean, at the end of the day, this is not like it's like a free speech where you say, oh, I think the president should go to hell. I think the president this and this, an opinion. But this is an assassination attempt. This is different. She should be arrested for an assassination attempt.
That's right, because she has power. She has millions of followers. And she's saying, I'll take him out tonight. I mean, that is amazing.
Maxine Waters to step down. She needs to step down out of office. She needs to get out of office. Because no sitting congresswoman should be making an assassination attempt on the president of the United States.
And you're right. I mean, when they've had top Democrats, even on Fox News, say hashtag hunt Republicans and CNN, they know what they're doing. It's like if I got up on air and said, somebody needs to kill such and such, I would be basically involved in terroristic threats. I would be racketeering. I would be contributing to that. I'd be yelling fire in the theater. And if somebody got killed, I would be an accessory.
Look, Alex, we live in a tough time right now where, like I was just recently in the city of Long Beach, where they're in a library, they're teaching young kids, a five-horned demon is teaching young kids. And I go to the city council and I seek my grievances and I file a complaint about it. And what happens is they twist, the public library takes down their statement and takes down the tweet, and I basically take a screenshot of it, I share it, and it goes out there. But this is what the left does. The left wants to push a false narrative. They want to indoctrinate our kids. They want to teach demonic teachings. They want to teach our kids that it's okay to be above the law. No one is above the law. We are a nation of laws. We cannot be law.
And I totally agree. And I'm not against gay people or men that want to dress like women. But when all over the country they bring in drag queens dressed scarier than It the Clown, and then there's video of the drag queens saying, you're going to be drag queens, kids. You're going to be this or that. I don't want heterosexuals coming in and telling kids what they're going to be. This is a clear sexualization agenda.
And that's exactly what's happening in our schools today. They're trying to desensitize the kids. They're trying to make them acceptable to a 5'4" demon. We don't know what's the objective behind this, but there's something behind this.
Oh, and yeah, it's going on all over the place. Well, it's lesser magic. They believe they can do it openly. Then that opens the gate to the larger operation. We'll be right back. Stay with us. I think she's so arrogant.
Well, she's so arrogant because her family thinks they're above the law. I mean, Maxine Waters is behind some of the biggest corruption charges, including the One United Bank scandal. Her son getting bribery charges and having him dropped from a felony to a misdemeanor. Her daughter being investigated for other elections, for getting $650,000 for mailers. I mean, this is concerning. If we have a representative that's constantly getting investigated, especially her family, there's a serious concern there of her validity as a congresswoman.
What are you calling for?
I'm calling for Maxine Waters' arrest. Maxine Waters thinks she's above the law. She thinks that she can say whatever she wants and she can get away with it. When I woke up in the morning and I saw the article and I saw the video, I was disgusted, simply disgusted that someone would resort to these actions. A sitting congressperson saying that they want to take out the president of the United States. Yeah, so I say Maxine Waters says impeach 45. She says let's get ready for the impeachment. Well, I say let's get ready for Maxine Waters' arrest. Let's get ready for Maxine Waters' arrest. We need to get her out of there. She needs to step down out of Congress. She needs to get out of there. It's time for her to go. She's been there for 27 years, hasn't done anything. She sat down, doing nothing. She has represented the district zero. There are families that are struggling. There are families that are in the street while she sits high living in her mansion in Hancock Park outside the district. I was born in the city of Inglewood. I've been in the city. I live in Torrance. I live in the district. I know what it's about. I am a strong supporter of the people of the 43rd. I'm a strong supporter of the state of California. We need to bring back stability to the state of California. But Maxine Waters is not going to do that. I'm going to bring back the state of California because I'm the only one here in this state that's taking action.
Omar, I know about your story, but it's really neat for folks. You're 28 years old. Why don't you tell the listeners your process of awakening, your political views, and how long you've been involved with the whole liberty movement?
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to tell my grandfather that one day I would like to be the president of the United States. And I used to say that I was 5 years old. And, you know, you don't know the responsibility of what it is to be in politics at a young age like that. My grandfather escaped communism from Cuba and, you know, understood a great deal of government tyranny. And not only did he understand a great deal from the oppression of government, he understood that you have to be involved in government. So he taught me a great deal of being involved in our government. So I said to myself later in life, you know, I wanted to do something. I wanted to take action. So I started paying attention to what was going on. I watched even you when I was 14 years of age. And I watched your show for a very long time. Well, it's been 14 years. I'm 28 years of age. For 14 years, I've been watching your show. I'm really proud to have learned a lot from watching your show, from looking at other perspectives on other opinions. But you definitely woke me up in a big way when I was growing up. And I realized that, you know, sometimes you can't trust the narrative. There is a narrative that is out there. The media slants the truth. And we are a voice of reason. The people are the voice of reason. We have to be the voice of reason in our government. The only way we're going to change anything is if we, the people, take back our government. And that's what we did when we elected Donald J. Trump as president. Now we have Maxine Waters sitting there. She thinks she's above the law. She thinks that she is queen. Queen Maxine thinks she can say whatever she wants. She thinks she can get away with whatever she wants. But I say this, the Secret Service needs to arrest Maxine Waters. I'm calling for her arrest. They need to go after her. Because what happened was wrong. And we need to start taking action. We need to start doing something. She thinks she's above the law. She's not above the law.
In fact, it only emboldens all these people when you've got Democrats on TV saying, let's hunt Republicans, let's kill Republicans. And even Wolf Blitzer having guests on that say, you know, the guy that shot Scalise was basically a hero. They're crazy.
Well, they definitely are. Democrats have held the state of California for ransom for over 30 years. You have serious allegations of corruption charges, like the Calderon family. I'll give you an example in the state assembly in the state of California. And you have others who have done many things in this state of corruption regarding corruption. We have to put a stop to this. The only way to do this is if we get up off our butts, we take action. We have to do something, because if we're not doing anything, we're just a part of the problem and not the solution. We want to be part of the solution, but the only way to be part of that solution is for us to take action. And that's what I encourage everybody to do. You know, people can go and help me out and go to my website at omarnavarro.com. They can go on there, look what I'm about. Don't just go off of what anybody says. Read my stuff, look at me, and look at my website. Call me, call my people. Ask questions. That's the best way of doing it. Like every week, I have like a video where I do every Monday at around 7 o'clock. I ask questions to people. I have people call in. I ask them, what is it that you're concerned about? I want people to be in touch with a politician, not out of touch with politicians. I want people to be in touch with them, not out of touch with them.
Well, Omar, you're part of the wave that win, lose, or draw, resistance is victory. But whether it's Australia or whether it's stuff that's happening in South America or things that are happening in Eastern Europe or Western Europe or the U.S. or the UK or Iceland, everywhere people are throwing the globalist out, which is really the new colonialism. They're kicking the big mega banks that are tax exempt out of power. They're saying no to arrogant technocracy. How did the globalists ever think they'd have unelected TPP make 90% of U.S. laws as it was set to do? And they call it criminal that Trump pulled us out of that. That's just an act of basic sovereignty. If Trump would have stayed in it, it would have been an act of treason.
You know, you have people that are in the deep state. And what they want to do is they want to make sure that they're pushing this global agenda down our throats. And what we have to do, we have to do everything possible to make sure that we're holding them accountable, make sure that we are taking action. This is the thing. We have to do something. If we're not doing anything, we're not doing anything at all. So this is the thing. We have to make sure that we are supporting our president. He is the president of the United States. They are resisting him every step of the way. They are calling him racist. They are calling him a bigot. They're saying all these things that he is not. We all know that President Trump is doing more for our country than any other president has ever done. He is doing a great job. He's bringing back hope and opportunity and prosperity back.
And that's why they're so horrified. And how long can the reality be here and then the false reality of the left as they get more and more crazy and more panicked, trying to raise interest rates, trying to kill the economy, trying to block tax cuts for poor people and middle class? I mean, it's just so obvious to anybody who's a thinking person.
And they are doing that because they want to bring down our country. They want to bring down our economy. They want to make sure that they are pushing this agenda down our throats. They are.
And by the way, that's not rhetoric. They really are that nasty. I mean, the Democrats weren't this bad just 10, 15 years ago. They are crazy. Let's do a few more minutes. Omar Navarro running for Congress against Maxine Waters. He's got a lot of courage. That lady's a serious gangster. The whole Democratic Party running against the Clintons that kill you. I want to ask him where he thinks his political realignment's going as globally people wake up, and how are the dirtbags going to strike back? Stay with us. We'll be right back. Then I'm getting into, and if you're not politically correct, most of them won't even let you buy a poll. And then if you tell them that you want them to really hit a straight demographic of people or new phone numbers, they won't do it. So it's a complete farce. They've used polls to control the public for 100 years in this country. And as we see in the WikiLeaks, they're faking polls. John Podesta says in early 2015, as the campaigns are just halfway starting, just as Hillary was firing up her committee, and you can read these, and he says, we need to reach out to all pollsters now and start spending money with them now. And we need to make sure they add at least 9 to 15 points for the Democratic Party, because we're the majority party. They claim that's legitimate. So that we get higher samples, so that she's way out ahead of the other Democrats from the beginning, and then ahead of the Republicans from the beginning. So they rigged it from the beginning. There it is. New Podesta email exposes playbook for rigging polls through oversamples. I mean, he says it. So I had this in the middle of the campaign, and then I could read the methodology on a CNN poll. They were the worst. They would, I mean, some of the phone polls were oversampling 34 points. 34 points? And then they'd say, Hillary's at 67. And you're like, well, of course she's at 67. If you remove the 34-point oversample, Trump's 20 points ahead. And it goes on and on and on and on. And the average poll added was like 12 points. The lowest was 9. Some were 15. Some were 19. Just oversampling phone numbers they know are Democrats. Who has landlines? And you call them, and then you say, who are you going to vote for? And then, of course, there's the other undersampling. Folks are intimidated. Let's say they actually call somebody that's going to go for Trump, that's fed up, awake, whatever. And they go, are you going to vote for Trump? They're like, oh, no, because you don't want to say it over the phone because they're intimidated. You may intimidate people calling them Nazis if they vote for Trump or support Trump in the primary or in the general election, but privately, they're still going to go in and do what they want. So then you've got that whole phenomenon. And I remember them going, Conway thinks they've got an extra 10 points because people are scared to say they support Trump. Absolutely. And by the way, Conway wasn't just saying that. I read the news every day. Google, Facebook, Twitter. Why do you think they were so desperate to go after Trump once he got the nomination? They knew, or even right before, when he was clearly going to get it, or trying to block him getting it. When he'd already won it, they had months till the convention. They were trying to get him to step down, unseat, have the electors say no. Remember all that? From the primaries. And they tried to have the electors say no, seating him as president. A few months later, going into 2016, 2017. And that's because, ladies and gentlemen, Google and Facebook and Twitter, Amazon knows if you're a Prime member what you're going to order 99% of the time before you order it because it's got algorithms and you do patterns you're not even aware of, and they know how they're going to present things to you, and they can have 99% of the time the package already packed a day before you order. That was 3 years ago. Imagine the technology they've got now. So, do you think they knew Trump was going to win? That's why they were saying he couldn't win. That's why they were saying he was 25 points behind and all that bull. Was because they had to create the illusion that no one was going for him because they had all the bots. But here's some of the headlines. I'm going to get Omar's take on this. That's why I held him over. Reliable AI systems predict Trump will win. Remember those headlines? And it was all sorts of computer companies that have major samples. They had video game apps that have millions of members, and they would do occasional polls. They'd say, who are you supporting? And in young people, Trump was ahead 10 points. I mean, there were thousands of data points out there that themselves had millions or billions of data points saying Trump, 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 Trump. It's the same thing, but only the weakest-minded people bought into this. But now they've got Gallup polls where 1 week he's 46, next week he's 35. It's all crap. They jack it up and lower it because at a certain point you're not going to believe that, less than 30% believe in him, even with oversampling of Democrats. So they just jack it up, they run it up, they lower it. That's all they can do is play with that when he's really at 60% or higher. Here's another one. Why the polls missed the 2016. Was it shy Trump supporters after all? Yeah. Why the polls are wrong about Trump again. A group of major pollsters just released an autopsy report to explain why the polls were such a disaster. But it's worse than that, folks. The major polling agencies that were Democrat and Republican funded, they decided to lie. In the past, they kind of tattled on each other if the cheating got too big. All caution was thrown to the wind this time. The questions were given to Hillary at all 3 debates weeks before. We could see that watching it, but it came out in WikiLeaks. So that's why they're in so much trouble, is that less and less people buy into their hoaxes. I wanted to get your final take on this, Omar Navarro, and talk about the dichotomy of people that are aware of the mind control and those that aren't. Because people that are under the spell, they're just getting deeper and deeper into it. That's why they're getting violent, because they really believe they're fighting Hitler. Poor little brain dead victims. Poor little dear things. Those of us that are awake, it's becoming more and more comical. This is crazy. Where do you expect this to go? Because they're trying with you, of course, to have polls where you're 20 points behind, but I've seen the different algorithms and different market research out there shows that you're really ahead of her. And of course, demographics would show that as well.
Yeah, that's completely true. 54% of my district is Hispanic Latinos. We have 20% registration of Republicans in the district. A lot of people in the district, if you actually go around and actually are not using a poll because, as they say, polls are for strippers. You know, at the end of the day, we have to do what we can to go in the district and actually walk. You know, Maxine Waters is living in Hancock Park outside the district in a $4.3 million mansion. I'm in the district. I'm walking around. I'm having events here. I mean, people are just waking up and people are realizing that they're tired of career politicians running the floor to the ground. I mean, this is the same person that has been ruining the inner cities. She falsely accused the CIA basically fomenting a crack cocaine epidemic in the 80s and the 90s in the inner city. You know, and of course, you know, at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are educating people about these things. They need to know what Maxine Waters is about. And Maxine Waters is not about the people. She's about herself. She's about her interests and her family. You know, at the end, we have to know who we are electing. Who are we putting into Congress? People know this in the 43rd Congressional District. The black community knows it. The Hispanic community knows it. The white community knows it. Every community knows that Maxine Waters is not for them. She's for herself and her own interest. So we have to look at and analyze these things. We have to look at her background. We have to look at the investigations that she was under, her husband, her daughter, her grandson, even herself. This is
and is it undoubtedly clear to you that if she ends up winning, it's clearly election fraud? Remember, in the primaries, the party gave Hillary the election the day before you even went to the polls. That's how corrupt California is. I mean, there's no doubt the polls show you're going to win, so it's election fraud if she gets elected.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to fight for whatever we stand for, and we're going to take action, and we're going to win. We're going to win bigly. We're going to shock everybody. We're going to show everybody that we are for the people in the 40s.
That's right. All right. Well, future Congressman Omar Navarro, and he's winning, period, by running, injecting truth. We salute you, Omar. Article that we've written boiling all this down. It's also on newswars.com. Vladimir Putin warns of future sci-fi superhuman soldiers more destructive than nuclear bombs who feel no fear or pain. Now, before I play this clip and read the closed captioning for radio listeners, before I translate it, it's important to note that he talks about super soldiers last and points out that they don't have any feelings. And he means feelings morally, because they're going to engineer out, in that aspect, someone that has morals. So you basically have a sociopath or a directable psychopath who then won't have any rights. Because if you add the genetics of animals or plants 1% or less, then you have a chimera that is in a no man's land, figuratively, and the pun also fits, because they're not animal and they're not human. They are a chimera. From mythical Greek mind to reality. And this has been going on for 30 years, chimeras, at the embryonic level and now implanted in bovine and grown up to humanoid size, reportedly for organ harvesting, but you know they've kept them alive. And the media always makes a big joke about this because they don't want to debate about it. But after decades of pushing, now it's finally in mainstream news. If you're a radio listener, I'm putting MIT Review, Associated Press, you name it, on screen. That's why when they attack me on CNN or Fox News, they always take audio of the show and don't show what I'm showing. Because if they show me saying it with MIT and Associated Press and Bloomberg, then it's very credible, you see. But they don't want a big debate about it. They want it now a little bit in publications, but not out there. But the real issue is the super soldier issue is a side area. It is the brainiac. It is people having genetics for high IQs, tripled, quadrupled. There's major associations with that in mental illness. And they may be able genetically to put other buffers in to be able to control it somehow. But the reason we don't walk till we're a year old is because our head has to grow outside the womb. It's already so big. It's like French bulldogs. It's like the Mars attack analogy that the Martians, hypothetically, have these heads 4 times the size of ours. Well, how are you going to walk around with a thing like that? There's some major issues here, obviously. But the point is, they were putting brain chips in soldiers 20 years ago. I knew about it from soldiers that it happened to. Now it's mainstream news. I'm putting that on screen. Military's building brain chips to treat PTSD. I told you that 15 years ago. They have viruses they inject you with that also eat parts of the brain so that you, quote, never get upset again because those receptors are gone. But those receptors are associated with spiritual experiences as well. Yes, they're associated with rage, euphoria, and with opiates that mimic what's naturally there as endorphins. So much of this is being used to dehumanize us, and all the technologies they've deployed against us so far have been about ravaging the mind and suppressing us, not empowering us. And that's the great lie of the transhumanists, who are really eugenicists. You may have some transhumanists that mean well and are only porch transhumanists, but transhumanism was the creation of Julian Huxley, the head of the UN program, to basically camouflage the true technocratic genetic engineering operation being launched through the eugenics boards. So the Eugenics Society became the transhumanist movement in 1947 after the embarrassment of their their test model, Adolf Hitler, and the Third Reich. So we have DARPA out today saying we can mind control you with waves, through waves that are put out through your cell phones. They told you that 2 years ago in the Kingsman. Yes, they can activate those, and it makes people agitated and violent. Can it make you act like in the movie and uncontrollably kill people? It's been declassified for decades, folks. They've got this. It's hooked into the cell towers, you name it. And that was in the Baltimore Sun almost 20 years ago. I read it in the Baltimore Sun that, oh, the CIA's testing, calming the public through cell towers. It's in the news today. Scientists can now control how you think. Boy, are we reaching our Atlantean moment where we may destroy ourselves? And Putin is talking about having that discussion. Here is excerpts of what President Putin talked about. This means that a man has the opportunity to get into the genetic code created by either nature or, as religious people would say, by God. What kind of practical consequences may entail? This means that one can already imagine it. One may imagine that a man can create a man. With someone given characteristics not only theoretically, but also practically. He can be a genius mathematician, a brilliant musician, or a soldier. A man who can fight without fear, compassion, regret, or pain. We already have that. As you understand, humanity can enter, and almost likely it will be in the near future, a very difficult and extremely responsible period of existence. And what I have just described might be worse than a nuclear bomb. Sure, that's 100-year-old technology plus. When we do something, whatever we do, I want to reiterate again, we must never forget about the ethical foundations of our work. There's not any discussions about ethics here, baby. They're going to release GMO bugs everywhere that bite you and give you vaccines forcibly, and it's not even a vaccine, it's nanotech. It's all here. Now, before I end this hour, ladies and gentlemen, we are extending only 2 more days, and then it's gone. We've never done it before. Brain Force Plus, our amazing